Hey YouTube, and welcome to my channel, A Badger Story. So the book that I'm going to review today is called Zombie Fallout. Now, this is a book that has given me some mixed feelings, to say the least. It's something I would definitely describe as one of those guilty pleasure books, and the guilty is definitely an important portion to that title. So, considering how many zombie books have been made out there, this book doesn't have that original of a premise. It does bring a few new things to the equation, but other than that, I found that it doesn't have much to offer that's new. So the story for me, I kind of found it to be weird. On the one hand, it has a lot of plot holes. Just things that don't add up or weren't really well thought out. An example of which is right at the outset of the story, the main character, Mike Talbot, he comes home from work and suddenly the zombies start appearing at his doorstep. And the thing that I found was very weird was that he describes these zombies as being already just horrendously rotten and smelly, just disgusting. And he goes into it in very vivid detail. And I'm going to point out that he does this with about a page of dialogue at least, where he makes basically a dog poop analogy in vivid detail and really gross detail to describe how bad these zombies smell. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because unless there was a horde of zombies just kind of hiding in the woodwork that suddenly start boiling out on some kind of command, how did these zombies, when they just got freshly bitten, suddenly become so smelly and disgusting and rotten? It doesn't make much sense. I found that the plot, too, wasn't really well thought out. The zombie apocalypse occurs, and they eventually end up in a gated community, and it doesn't really have any direction as to where it's going. Yeah, there's some character strife. Yeah, they kind of decide that they're going to build up their defenses, but I just didn't really get what direction it was going to, where I was going to end up at the end of the story, what the climax was going to be. I couldn't sense that. It didn't feel like it was going anywhere. And for me, that kind of made it a bit of a struggle to continue reading the book. Now, I have a strict, finish the book policy. I don't do one of those did not finish type things, because in my mind, sometimes the argument can be made that a book just needed a little bit longer before it started getting good. And while a good book shouldn't need that, a passable book might actually result. And this is one of those cases where that actually happens. So everything's just kind of dragging. I'm kind of having a hard time being interested, and suddenly the travelers, the survivors, they come upon the mysterious woman. It's this Eliza character, and she's like a zombie, but she's smart, she's intelligent, and not immediately violent. So that kind of hooked me and re-engaged me to the story, because then at that point I was like, okay, the author's building something up. I want to see where this goes. And while the story never really fully resolves that, it does make me feel that at the end of the day, this book's story was almost like a prologue of sorts. The author was getting everything set up in, I think it's 9 books that have come out in this series total. So it's almost like he's setting the stage. So I can kind of give it a pass for that. But overall, the story is not that strong. Now, the biggest issue that I have with this book is the characters. So the main character, Michael Talbot, on the one hand, he is has a lot of levity to him. He's kind of like he's almost like the comedic goofy swashbuckler, that he's constantly making jokes and trying to have a good time. He's adventurous, but at the same time, he starts coming off as very crude and has all the abilities. Examples of how he's very crude is that he's often sexist. I'm not sure if it's him or the author, but there's a lot of homophobic things, there's racist things that come up, and he makes a lot of crude jokes at the same time. An example is he's at a Walmart, and in the parking lot he sees 2 zombified women coming towards him, and they're apparently very, very overweight. And he starts describing how these were women that shouldn't have been wearing, skinny jeans or skinny yoga pants, something like that. And he's commenting basically on the sexuality and appearance of zombies. And it's kind of like, why did that need to be included in the story? Was it to make him seem cooler or something? I don't know. It really just makes him seem like a shallow prick, to be honest. So I didn't understand where that was going. And at the end of the day, this is just a character that he's overly cocky, and the Marine Corps references, like, this is a character, the character was apparently in the Marine Corps, and it is constantly brought up by him or other characters. It's, Dad's able to do this because he was in the Marine Corps. Dad is able to know how to do this because he was in the Marine Corps. He survived that situation because he was in the Marine Corps. Oh, did I mention? He's a Marine. Okay, like, I get it. So that's something that constantly happens that I just find is really ingratiating, how much they remind you that this guy is a Marine character, and it gives you a wash for like why he can do something constantly. It's really annoying. It doesn't ever stop. So Michael Talbot character really annoys me. But then there's other things, like the women in the story have no... They're all stereotypes. So there's the mother named Tracy, and she's apparently the dumb blonde type, where they even have a term for when she has dumb blonde moments called being in Tracyville, and they tell her to come back from Tracyville. And then there's the daughter, Nicole, who is described as, when she gets angry, she can really be a screamer and make any grown man be cowed and like run away in fear. And she's completely skinny and helpless otherwise, like in a fight. And the author has the mother, Tracy, and the daughter, Nicole, go off randomly on... First off, it's like a rescue attempt when the sons go off, but then they get out past the gate and they're like, oh, we don't know how to get to where these guys are because we have no idea where they went. We better go get some cigarettes. So they go to this kind of convenience store that has cigarettes, and the mother, Tracy, ends up fighting a zombified woman who had tried to sexually seduce Michael Talbot, her husband. And it's like, why is this going on right now? How is this furthering the story? Another thing with the Tracy character is, at one point, her literally only nice moment in the book is when, I kid you not, she is in the kitchen making scones for her husband. And by the way, they're making scones in the zombie apocalypse. I don't get how there's power or refrigerator. I don't get how that's going on. I'm not even going to belabor that point. Otherwise, Tracy is the whole time just irrationally angry, and like at one point the son tries to go off and the mother doesn't want to let the son go off because she's like, he's my child, and the husband's like, well, what am I to? And she's like, you're just some guy I met. And it's like, where did that come from? And during the whole time, the author just makes her a really unlikable character that has no function in there other to be in a stupid situation or to be angry or violent. It makes zero sense. Otherwise, another female character is one that is a lesbian and hates men and can't function at all and just like royally messes up situations when the zombies are in a threat. So it's like, why is that occurring? And then the only strong woman in the book was her lesbian lover, who is of course naturally a butch kind of woman. And the author has Michael Talbot reminiscing about how he talked about girls with this butch lesbian woman who actually doesn't make it through the zombie apocalypse. She's a zombie right away. So it's like, oh, the one female character that's supposed to be strong isn't actually strong. I felt like the author was constantly putting down women. And then there's the racist remarks and the homophobic remarks that it's either through like crude jokes, like to rib at each other, like, hey, I'm not gay, man, but like, haha, I'm gonna tease you about this. Or there's some character that's just making angry racist remarks, and Michael Talbot is the valiant guy that saves the day for it. But I feel like the author is kind of harboring a lot of like subconscious prejudices and hate, so that kind of just bleeds through the story a lot. And then there's also this random thing, I'm not sure if I'd consider it like a character or a story flaw, but at one point Michael Talbot, he discovers in the gated community basically a serial killer who has like collected zombies in his sex dungeon, and it's just like, why was this even included in the story? And the only thing I can come up with is it's so that the main character is whisked away to stand trial and thus isn't present to prevent a major issue that blows up that involves zombies. That's the only thing I can actually think of. Another thing I actually found that was an issue with the main character, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, I keep going back to this main character, but I keep thinking of things that was just like, what is going on? Why is the author writing this? That mysterious zombie woman, Eliza, who seems to be a leader of zombies, at one point the author actually has her kissing Michael Talbot, as if this character wasn't fully, like, full of himself enough. He's actually, even the zombies are attracted to him. It doesn't make much sense. And other than like the huge focus on this Michael Talbot character, everything else is just kind of randomly off to the side. The author will introduce characters, start giving them like backstory, giving them personalities, giving them dialogue, and they'll appear in that one scene and then just not come back at all. So then after that, the other two characters I liked the most was Michael Talbot's bulldog. He's a Marine, remember, so he's got to have a bulldog. And that should say something, that one of the dogs, because there's two of them that I like, one of the dogs is one of the best characters I feel in the story, because the author gives him just enough character to not exactly act as a comic relief, but just, I don't know, a happy, fun-loving dog bright spot of the story. I mean, that's what we're reduced to, is, you know, the happy family dog has to keep it standing. And then the next character, who has the most, you know, if there's going to be a moment in this book that, like, you know, makes me tears up, that gives me tears, it's this dog, because the dog just kind of randomly appears near, you know, after the halfway point. He isn't even there for most of it. He's around for maybe 2 chapters, and then he's out of the story again. And this dog has enough personality through like the growls he gives and the things he does, and the way that this dog, like, you know, exits the story, exits stage left, is just, it was such a powerful moment. And it was a great story moment too, that it was just like, wow, if the author could do more things like this, just genuine characters being involved, great story moments, he could do so much better with the rest of the series. So that's another point that I was like, okay, I can tell that this guy's self-published, because wow, there were spelling issues and grammatical errors and just sometimes sentences that didn't make sense. So he had kind of a bad flow. So I could tell he was self-published, and maybe I figured, okay, he's going to start honing his writing skills and the books will start getting better after a while, because it's just like in your English classes, the first time you try to write an essay, it's a complete mess, but then after you learn it for a while, you start figuring out how you're supposed to do it. So I'm kind of hoping for that with the rest of this series. I'm making a commitment to at least read the second book to see if it improves. So on the note of how his writing skill seems a little bit lacking, this guy, he took a thesaurus and he took simple adjectives in simple sentences and then swapped them out for words that I have never heard of before. And if you read this book, you're gonna be reading, you know, simple sentence structure, simple words, and suddenly there'll just be this incredibly advanced words dropped right in the middle of it, or he'll use words redundantly. So one example is that they shook their heads in negation. If you shake your head like this, I don't think you need to clarify that that's in negation. That's pretty well understood in our culture, so I'm not sure why he does stuff like that. So the writing style could definitely improve after a while. So all these things considered, like weak storyline, weak characters, a bad mental setting that the words just can't impart, kind of crude values and things that are going on, like a lot of grossness with descriptions of what's going on with the zombies, I found myself still actually reading page to page. It wasn't definitely a page turner, like I wasn't going full on, But something just kept me going there, and I think it's just that it's a guilty pleasure type read. I mean, there's just enough there that you're kind of like, okay, I'm not hating this. I could keep going. And I mean, to be honest, like, you know, I also wanted to finish the book so that I could actually give the review, but it's a guilty pleasure. There's something to be said about this book that, you know, it's popular online on Goodreads. It's just above 4 stars with, I think, 4,000 people having given it ratings. So if you're looking for just plain dumb fun, this book will give it to you. So all in all, because it has that kind of characteristic of just being dumb fun, it goes from being a 1 star for all its issues to being 2 stars in my final review. I think I got it for free actually on Amazon in a Kindle book, so it's definitely not going to hurt if you just pick it up, and if you don't like it, well, no harm lost, because you probably didn't spend any money, or if the price has gone up since then, minimal money. Another thing is that, like, there's going to be a TV series made out of this book, so that's another thing that makes me think that, okay, these books pick up after a while, get a little bit more refined, because someone greenlit this for a TV series. So give it a shot. I mean, you might be able to be like one of those next Walking Dead fans that was like, I read the book, or graphic novel, I read the book before this thing was made a TV show. Hipster moment. So yeah, check it out. That's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to leave comments in the comments section if you want to create any discussion or things you thought, any points you want to bring up. And if you like my video, please hit the subscribe button, and have a great day.